Have you ever experienced a sudden ringing in your ear that no one else seems to hear? A sound that comes out of nowhere, lingers for a few seconds, and then disappears just as mysteriously as it arrived. If you, if so, then you are not alone. Many people experience this phenomena, but what if I told you that this ringing isn't just a random occurrence? What if it's a message, a sign, or even a divine signal meant specifically for you? Today, we are diving deep into the spiritual and metaphysical meaning behind the ringing in your ears. Whether you are a believer, a seeker, or just curious, this is for you. God's chosen ones, this is what the ringing in your ear is trying to tell you. Let me start by sharing a personal experience. A few years ago, I was going through a particularly challenging time in my life. I felt lost, unsure of my purpose, and disconnected from my faith. One evening, as I sat in silence praying for guidance, I suddenly heard a high-pitched ringing in my right ear. It wasn't painful, but it was intense enough to make me pause and take notice. At first, I brushed it off as just one of those random things that happened. But then it happened again the next day. And the day after that, each time it felt like a gentle nudge, a reminder that I wasn't alone. That's when I started to wonder, come could this be more than just a physical sensation? Could it be a message from the God or the universe? This curiosity led me down a path of research, prayer, and reflection. I spoke to some spiritual leaders and read countless books and even connected with others who had similar experiences. What I discovered was both fascinating and life changing. The ringing in my ears, often referred to as spiritual ringing or ear tones, is believed by many to be a form of divine connection. It's a way for God, angels, or the universe to get our attention and guide us on our spiritual journey. So, what exactly is this ringing trying to tell us? Let's break it down. First, it's important to understand that not all ear ringing is spiritual. Sometimes it's simply a medical condition which can be caused by exposure to light noises, ear infections, or even stress. If you are experiencing persistent or painful ringing, it's always a good idea to consult a healthcare professional. But for many of us, the ringing comes and goes without any obvious physical cause. That's when we need to tune in, literally, and to the deep meaning behind it. One of the most interpretations of spiritual ringing is that it's a sign of heightened spiritual awareness. It's like a wake up call from the divine, urging us to pay attention to our intuition and inner guidance. Have you ever noticed that ringing often happen when you are deep in thought, meditating or praying? That's no coincidence. It's a reminder that you are connected to something greater than yourself and that you are being guided even every step of the way. Let me share another example. A friend of mine once told me about a time when she was struggling to make a big decision. She had been offered a new job in a different city, but she wasn't sure if it was the right move for her family. One night, as she was lying in a bed, she heard a loud ringing in her left ear. It was so clear and distinct that it startled her. She prayed for clarity, and in that moment, she felt a sense of peace wash over her. The next day, she turned down the job offer. A few weeks later, an even better opportunity came her way. Once that allowed her to stay close to her family while still advancing her career. She believes that the ringing was a sign from God, guiding her to trust His timings and plan. But the ringing isn't just about guidance, it can also be a form of protection. Have you ever been in a situation where something just didn't feel right? And then you heard that familiar ringing in your ear that could be a warning from your spiritual team, your angels, guides, or even God himself, telling you to be cautious. I remember a time when I was about to make a financial investment that seemed too good to be true. As I was signing the paperwork, I heard a loud ringing in my ear. It was so intense that I stopped what I was doing and decided to sleep on it. The next morning, I did some more research and discovered that the investment was the scam. That ringing saved me from losing a lot of money, and I'm convinced that it was a divine intervention. Now, let's talk about the different types of ringing and what they might mean. Some people experience a high pitched tone while others hear a low hum or even a rhythmic pulsing. Each of these can carry a unique message. For example, a high pitched ringing is often associated with spiritual awakening and ascension. It's a sign that you are vibrating at a higher frequency and aligning with your higher self. On the other hand, a low hum or buzzing sound might indicate that you are being called to ground yourself and focus on the present moment. And if you hear a rhythmic pulsing, it could be a sign that your spiritual guides are trying to communicate with you in a more direct way. Another important factor to consider is which ear you are hearing the ringing in. In many spiritual traditions, the right ear is associated with receiving messages from the divine, while the left ear is linked to receiving messages from your higher self or inner wisdom. So, if you hear ringing in your right ear, it could be a sign that God or your angels are trying to communicate with you. Or if it's in your left ear, it might be a reminder to trust your intuition and listen to your inner voice. Of course, interpreting the ringing in your ears is a deeply personal experience. What it means for you might be different from what it means for someone else. The key is to pay attention to the context in which it happens and to trust your instinct. If you are unsure, take a moment to pray or meditate and ask for clarity. You might be surprised at the answers you receive. So, before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought. The ringing in your ear is not something to fear or ignore. It's a gift, a reminder that you are never alone and that you are always being guided and supported by a higher power. So, the next time you hear that familiar sound, take a moment to pause, tune in, and listen. It might just be the message you have been waiting for. Thank you for joining me on this journey today. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. If you have experienced the ringing in your ears, I would love to hear your story in the comment below. Until next time, remember you are chosen, you are loved, and you are never alone. God bless.